Sup shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to SP Reacts, where it's a little bit different today. I was initially going to go back to the Discord and find some more meme videos, but quite honestly I don't have the time to do it today. I don't want to rush the editing and risk making it half-assed, so I will do this video next week. I'll let people know in the Discord before this video goes live, but don't worry, your videos will get reacted to. I just wanted to talk about something which was very special to me at the moment, and it's me basically reacting to the current state of the music industry in 2022. By the by, will potentially not really appeal to a considerable amount of my audience who have either subscribed because they want to watch me review JHL albums, so this is not a JHL album review. If you'd like to stay, however, and hear someone who has spent over half their life involved in some way or another with the music industry, please do stay and enjoy the ride, because while I am aiming for this to be a short video, I can't guarantee that that'll necessarily be the case. It will also not have the funny he edits that my previous one did, even though I'm not sure if they're actually funny, but someone said they were funny, so I assume that's probably cool. I do like making those videos, but I think from time to time it'll be good just to react to something a little bit more sort of like serious. Because the current state of the music industry at the moment in 2022 it's a bit dire. I don't just feel that. I've been thinking about it for a while. We live at the moment in a day and age, especially where COVID has come in, and while the world is opening up, I understand it's opening up, that we've come to understand, I think, as musicians, how important it is to diversify our portfolios. I think a lot of us, since the changes that occurred in the streaming of music in like the 2010s, have come to rely on like merch and live shows as being the way of getting out there and doing stuff. And the moment the pandemic hit, I think a lot of us realized, oh shit, we don't have that anymore, and it could just be taken away from us at any moment. So I say this as someone who realizes that they could potentially either alienate or piss off a whole lot of people. I'm going to say it anyways. I think the music industry is in a bit of a dark place at the moment. I say this as someone who has been around since the mid-2000s, you know, when CDs were still selling, and I'm not going to pretend that that was the golden age, and I'm not going to pretend that I preferred things back the way we were before. I know there was a lot of exploitation from record labels and stuff like that, and bands got ripped off and pissed around. I personally knew people who got signed up by record labels and then got dumped the moment that their first single didn't sell as well as they thought it would. I'm not going to pretend that the industry was better then, and I'm not going to pretend that there haven't been significant improvements in regards to the overall utility of independent music producers over the last 10 years. But I think more than anything, if you are someone wanting to come up as a musician in this day and age, you've got to be really onto it. You can't just half-ass it. You can't just be good at being a musician. You can't just be a great pianist or a great guitarist or a great drummer. You've also got to be a great songwriter. You've also got to be incredibly creative and to be able to do stuff outside the box with your instrument. You've also got to be able to produce well. You've got to be able to record well, because going to a studio nowadays, it's not going to be cheap, especially because there is less business than there used to be due to people either not being able to come to the studio, or alternatively, I suppose you could go somewhere cheap and go for the bottom of the barrel thing, and it could be exactly what you need it to be, but unfortunately people are so anal and pretentious about sound with most genres that unless you have a really pristine recording, it's just not going to fly anymore. And the problem with that as well is that I think a lot of people nowadays understand how accessible that really high quality gear and software is to be able to get that high quality music production, that if you don't know how to use it effectively, or if you don't get people involved who know how to use it effectively, you're going to screw yourself. And because the first impression is so important with music, if you make a really terrible first impression with people with your opening single, it can be bad. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where we go from here with the music industry. I'm reacting to it. I'm incredulous. I'm confused. I'm mystified by it. If you're someone who is able to play an instrument well, who is able to write music well, who is able to produce and record it well, it's not even enough anymore, because you've also got to be a good people person. And that's incredibly important. It's not just being friendly with people, because that's not enough, but also you've got to be able to kind of communicate in a way that people will want to interact with your material. So you've not only got to be friendly, but also professional, but also you've got to be like, you've got to have a core understanding of how people operate. Because while like a lot of people, you see people online who become like famous overnight because of a viral video, that's a fucking stupid way to like build a brand because it's unpredictable. You're basically gambling. You know, it's something that could work, but you don't know if it will. And like in most other professions, like imagine if a doctor was like, oh yeah, I mean, I joined this, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to cure the patient. I don't know. I haven't really thought about what I'm going to do with the patient much, but I'm sure it'll work out. You wouldn't hire them, would you? And like, yeah, I get that this arguably isn't as important, but my time as a music reviewer has taught me that it's taught me that people really care about their music. I'm not going to pretend that every single person I've worked with has genuinely cared about their music. Sometimes stuff comes through, and I know they've tried their best, but you know, there have been things that maybe if they'd had another person involved, it could have been improved. There could have been some improvements made, you know. But then also on the flip side, there is so much good material out nowadays that even if you do have the songwriting, performance, composition, arrangement, all that stuff down, plus the production, and even if you're good at talking to people, you have to compete with so many other people. And it's just so hard. And so what you get is you get people who will try and bypass the system because they know that when someone looks like they don't have any plays on a digital stream platform, and they know that people are so time poor that they don't have the time to find music for themselves a lot of the time. And I know there's exceptions to that rule, but I'm talking about your average person who's like living costs are skyrocketing, and they're trying to, you know, music is a luxury to a lot of people. I mean, you look at vinyl records, how expensive they are. You know, a lot of people can buy vinyl records, but it's not like a lot of people can necessarily afford to buy like as many as they want. It's not like everyone can like afford like $50 vinyl a week. If you can, that's great. But that's primarily because we don't have things as like CDs as much anymore, because people aren't buying CDs. They'll buy vinyl because vinyl was like the way of people going, oh, but I want a physical copy, but I don't have a CD player, but I want to look fancy, and I know that I like the warmth, the hi-fi warmth of a record player, so they'll sell vinyl. And so that's why you get people who are buying vinyl nowadays. They perceive it as being a higher quality experience to listen to it. And to be fair, I can understand that, you know. I would quite like to have a vinyl collection. If I didn't go and buy music equipment, I could probably afford it. But I suppose, you know, you have people that look at these Spotify pages and they've got 0 views. And when you look at a band that has 0 views or 0 plays, 0 views because also YouTube videos, right? But like 0 plays, what do you think of that? Like, when you look at a band or a musician or an artist that has very little exposure, what do you think about that person? Do you think that they're successful? Is that a quality indicator? Or do you just assume that you're going to have a great time regardless whether they have like 1,000 fans or none? And so you get these people that will go onto websites and they will buy views, and they will buy plays, and they will buy exposure, and they will buy fans and subscribers. And you get people who like have thousands and thousands of plays on their songs, and they maybe have like 1 or 2 comments and like 7 subscribers if they miscalculate the what is it? The status. They're buying a status, right? It's kind of messed up if you think about it, because how are you even supposed to know what's good anymore? And then the question is, well, you'd listen to it, right? Yeah, but you don't have time to listen to everything, and your brain's like trying to find the best way of dealing with it. And you can, you know, like you could be like, well, you know, websites like Spotify and other ones have really great ways of finding original artists. They have like spotlights and stuff, and it's like, yeah, but do you know how much music goes on to those websites every day? Do you know how much goes on to SoundCloud every day? Do you know how much goes on to that every day? Like, there's so much that goes online. And I'm not a pessimist. Don't get me wrong. I think I've spoken to people during my interviews I do with people on the channel. Like, I've got my 30th one this week. And literally the main thing that they talk about is marketing. it's not even that important to be a good musician anymore. It's how you sell yourself to people. And in a sense, it's simultaneously sad and accurate, because nowadays with the music industry as it is, you've had so many people show how good they are at lots of different things that nothing's particularly unique anymore. There will be people who find stuff we can't imagine, but that only comes from being imaginative. You know, you can't just assume that you're gonna find that special thing until you stumble across it and you try it and people enjoy it. And that uniqueness, that sense of creativity, is only validated when it's stumbled upon by the right person that shows it with the right people, and then it goes viral. You don't even know what's special anymore, because there's so much stuff out there in the music industry released across these digital streaming platforms. There's so much, and I would say 0.001% of bands make it. And that's how it is. And don't get me wrong, I think there's lots of work that's done both nationally, where I live in New Zealand. Like, I was listening to the radio the other day, and the Rock FM, you know, like they showcase bands nationally, though, national bands. And I'm pretty sure that there are lots of other organizations here in New Zealand and internationally that are trying to get independent music out there. But then you also run the risk of the information overload, because in order for those organizations to actually get that stuff out there, you have to tell people about it, and people are getting thrown so much information at them nowadays that, like, they don't know how to cope. And maybe I'm just projecting. Maybe every single other person in existence is able to deal with the amount of complete bullshit that gets thrown at them on a daily basis, but I can't. I can't fucking do that. I can't keep up with all the information that's thrown at me. And then I get, like, told, listen to this band. And the cover's like, no, I don't have time for that. I have, like, 2 jobs I need to work. I want to do other stuff, you know, because there's also this movement to move away from cell phones and stuff, just to be able to get free of that. But without your cell phone, you don't have your fucking music, you know, because a lot of people rely on their cell phones to as, like, Bluetooth devices or carriers, so that they can listen through Bluetooth speakers or their headphones or whatever. So without your cell phone, you're either relying on getting it from, like, your smart TV, but then a lot of people are moving away from that. And because we don't have the physical stuff anymore, apart from vinyls, which, again, they're awesome, and I would love to have a vinyl collection. But honestly, like, for me to have a vinyl collection that was equivalent to my CD collection back in, like, the early 2000s, I'd need to spend roughly $1,000 to $2,000, not including the actual vinyl player itself. Granted, that's New Zealand dollars, but that would still be a good $800 to $1,200. And, like, that's just to start. I could not possibly, like, accumulate the entirety of the stuff I have on Spotify and put it on my, like, vinyl player, because I'd be spending, like, thousands of dollars to be able to get that. And the thing is, a lot of musicians, bands, and artists are not even bothering to put out vinyl because they realize there's an upfront cost. And then you also have to convince people who have already been exposed to, like, 20 different friggin' vinyl sets in a day to go and get another set of vinyls. And it's like, you want to support the band, but you've got people who, like, I have students that come in and they can't even decide on a song they want to learn. Because they don't have a favorite song. Nobody has a fucking favorite song anymore because there's so many songs. It's like, how do you choose from the hundreds of songs that I listen to today? Half of the students that I teach are overwhelmed and overworked, and they can barely fucking function. I don't have people who come in that are stressed out unless they're, like, to be completely honest with you, the only students that I have that come in who are totally chill and on top of things are the people that come from higher socioeconomic backgrounds, or people that legitimately just don't care. And, like, that's, I didn't realize that I'd be going on such a journey with this, because I was talking about the music industry. And, like, I haven't really talked about major labels yet. I don't want to talk about major labels, in part because I know that it's complicated. With major labels, they can get you exposure you might not get otherwise. They know people. A lot of what will find you success in the music industry is knowing the right people. A lot of what will find you success in the music industry is luck. On top of the people skills, on top of the music and production skills, you need luck. because you never know when that rep of an independent label or a major label is going to stumble across your music. You never know. That's it. That's the truth. You know, that is like my way of looking at it from a rounded perspective and not being a complete nihilist about it. It's luck, man. It's absolute luck. You know, granted, back 100 years ago when there wasn't as much music, it was easier to find new music. But that's because 100 years ago, we had like swing music, and we had classical music, and we had blues. It grew from there. And over the last 100 years, we have just exploded. And nowadays, we have genres of music I ain't heard of. And that made, well, of course, but like, seriously, I thought I was keeping up. My friggin' backpack rap and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, what is backpack rap? It took me a while to get my mind around vaporwave, and like, I listen to bands that I can't put in a box because they don't even have a genre. They're just completely like art rock or art electronic or something like that. And the thing is, I love that music so much because it's original. But you know, the moment that you find something original, the moment that gets attention, do you know what a lot of enterprising musicians are going to do who are desperate to make it? They'll do it. And they will run that shit into the fucking ground. Because they are desperate to find something, some way where people getting into it. And Lord help you if a well-to-do label finds that something is successful, because if those producers get the hang of it, oh my Lord, dude, that is all you're going to hear. That is all you're going to hear, because that's what's hot and that's what's current. Like, I have people who get pissed off because they hear the reggaeton beats that came into pop music in the late 2010s and stuff. And they were like, people are acting like they invented it, but it came from stuff way back in the day, and it's because these labels like appropriated and stuff like that, or the producers appropriated to make it marketed and seem like it's a brand new thing, you know? When in reality, it's just simply because people don't get exposed to enough music outside the box a lot of the time, partly because they don't have the time to be able to do that, but also because it's just really difficult to be able to know everything. And then there's just drama, and then people get pissed off, and because it's the internet, everyone give their opinion in a friggin' splash in a moment. Basically, this is me reacting to the music industry in 2022. You have to have people skills, you have to have your own defined style, but you also have to find a way of making it so that it's just enough for people to be able to get along with. You have to spend money. You have to spend money on marketing. You have to. You know, I remember a few moments ago I was talking about people buying clicks and stuff like that. Don't do that. It makes you look like a scumbag. And Spotify and other digital streaming platforms have been known to take people down for that. Dude, I don't know what you can do. I don't know what you can do specifically to market yourself. I mean, obviously, find people to review your music. Find people to talk to you about your music. Find people who will put your music on playlists, but legally. And without any deception or BS, right? And the last thing you want to do is end up fraudulently on playlists because of garbage. Make music that's fantastic enough for Spotify to want and other platforms to put it on your playlists. Go to venues and meet people, collaborate. Don't do everything by yourself. Because if you try, that's the biggest mistake I made, and it's some mistake I continue to make, because there have been some plus sides to my mistake. So I guess it's not a complete mistake, but I have tried to do everything by myself because I hate having to rely on other people. I hate it. That's part of why I screwed up a lot of relationships I had, working relationships, because I didn't consider the people element of it. That people were just trying their best. And I would recommend that if you are wanting to find a place in the music industry, that you get used to talking to people and being professional or respectful. I had people ask me about coming to New Zealand and how to communicate with people. People just want to talk, but they want to have some benefit from it. But most of all, if you can benefit people and if you can talk to them in a way where they feel comfortable, you'll make it. You might not become successful, but at least you have a chance. I don't really know what else to say. I think that a lot of independent musicians are a lot more savvy about what it takes to become quote-unquote successful in the industry. But the problem is, a lot of the time, what will make you successful is temporary. A lot of people rush to the way to make money in the short term, when in reality you've got to grind it, and not fucking 7 days a week, but you've got to be consistent with your output. and you've just got to keep trying. And that's really difficult for people, especially because when you get out of school and you're on a minimum wage, and if that minimum wage isn't enough to work, it can feel like you're sacrificing yourself for music. So like, would I recommend someone study music in college with the expectation that they're getting a job? No. I'd recommend people study it alongside something where they can work, like do a trade. Learn a trade. And yeah, I know as someone who, I teach music for a living. I also do paid music reviews for a living. And I also have like the Patreon and YouTube stuff. It probably seems like bullshit because it's like, well, fuck you. Why should I have to do that if you didn't? And the reason that you might need to do it is because back when I started doing the tuition and review stuff. Fiverr was luck. Fiverr was absolute luck. I have no idea why I became successful on Fiverr. I just offered something people didn't get. But that's the answer there. People weren't getting what I gave them. People sprung up afterwards, but I had already been consistently improving my offering because I knew I couldn't just sit with the original. So by the time other people came in, they had to play catch up, and it was difficult for them. I'm not saying I am the best, but what I'm saying is that I am one of the top-rated music reviewers on Fiverr at the moment, and I don't take that half-assedly. I also am a fully booked music tutor, and I got there through countless mistakes. I made so many mistakes, but I stuck at it. I almost lost my house. I almost completely lost my life. I nearly lost everything. I just stuck at it. I didn't give up. And I am in a position now where I'm not happy with my lot, but thinking about it, dude, I could be doing a whole lot worse. Would I want to go back 5 years ago and do this all again? Fuck no. And I'm not really sure what I would do differently. But for you watching this, do a trade. Make some bank. Build a studio. Buy this kit you need. Don't half-ass kit. Get the stuff you need that will do the job. Pay people who are better at you than stuff you don't want to put time into. Like if you want to buy a marketing manager or pay them, go do that. You can find people online. You can hire them to help you out. Meet people, and get to a point where you, like where you, how do I say this? Just network. Again, it's not something I like to do. And ironically, now I'm in a position where I probably don't need to do it too much. Although if I was to do more live work, I absolutely would need to. But then I wouldn't be doing it unless I had a fan base that were interested anyways. So that's why I don't really pursue it much, But you watching this, if you have people that are interested in what you do musically, then you are in a great position. I think that's what I want to close on. The music industry nowadays is a bit fucked. It's a bit fucked. Even with the rise of independent musicians and the situation we have, people are relying on all these different plates that are spinning on their fingers. You need, and I promise you need to remember that you are loved, that you are special, and that if you make something just for yourself that makes you happy, that's the most important thing. I think that's the biggest lie that the music industry tells. And I could just be projecting. Maybe I've misinterpreted it all these years, but success in the music industry is not millions of dollars. Well, I guess it is. Hang on, let me rephrase that. Success in music is not making $1 million. The industry is a business. But if you can create music where it makes you happy and you feel like you're doing the best you can, you are far more successful overall than people who make their millions off of boring, bland, basic bullshit. And who don't actually, because the last thing you want is to be someone who's trapped in a situation where they are stuck making the same old garbage just to pay the bills. The only way you can make a way in the industry nowadays is to be true to yourself, to make smart decisions, to cover performance, songwriting, production, networking, marketing. When you are sound of mind and in a position where you feel safe enough to try and make some money from it, just remember that it's not assured. Don't feel bad if you can't make money as a musician. You're not a failure. As long as your music is meaningful to you, that's what counts. Okay? Spartans out.